The courtroom was silent when a little girl suddenly raised her hand and gave a signal to her dog. Everyone thought it was an innocent gesture, until what happened next made the judge slam his gavel and stop the entire trial. The shocking truth changed everything in that room. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. The courtroom was packed, the air heavy with tension. Wooden benches creaked as people leaned forward, waiting for the trial to begin. At the center sat a little girl, no older than 7, her small hands folded nervously in her lap. Beside her, a German shepherd rested calmly, eyes sharp and watchful. The judge adjusted his glasses, his gavel striking once to call for order. The case was unlike anything the town had seen. Emotions ran high, and every gaze in the room flicked between the girl and the defendant sitting only a few feet away. The silence felt unbreakable. Reporters scribbled notes, flashes from cameras catching the girl's frightened expression. But the dog's presence anchored her, his steady posture like a shield. No one knew yet just how important he would become. For now, all they could sense was that something extraordinary was about to unfold. The German shepherd wasn't just any dog. He was her constant guardian. After a traumatic past, the little girl had found comfort only in him. Her parents had enrolled the dog in specialized training, not only for obedience, but to help her cope with fear. Over time, he became her voice. He learned her signals, her whispers, even the tremble of her hand. When nightmares woke her in the night, he was there, pressing close until she calmed. When the world felt too loud, he created a safe bubble around her, his loyalty unshakable. Their bond was unspoken but unbreakable. Now, in the intimidating walls of the courtroom, that bond was being tested. The girl leaned on her companion, her fingers brushing the fur around his collar. His steady gaze never wavered, silently promising that no matter what unfolded, she wouldn't face it alone. Together, they were stronger. The prosecutor began, carefully, speaking in a calm tone so as not to overwhelm the little girl. She was asked simple questions, her name, her age, if she remembered what had happened. Each word she spoke was soft, almost fragile, but the courtroom hung on every syllable. The tension only grew. Across the aisle, the defense attorney pressed forward with sharper questions, his voice echoing through the chamber. The girl shifted uncomfortably in her seat, her small fingers tightening in her dog's fur. The German shepherd lifted his head, eyes locked on the man, muscles coiled with quiet vigilance. The jury noticed. Murmurs rippled through the spectators. As the contrast became clear, the child trembling under pressure, the dog steady and unyielding at her side. Every glance, every hesitant answer, painted the weight of the trial. Something was building, an invisible storm that only the girl and her dog felt. The defense attorney's tone grew sharper, each question digging deeper. The girl's lips trembled, her eyes darting nervously toward the floor. She wanted to answer, but fear tightened her throat. Slowly, her gaze shifted to the one constant. In her world, her German shepherd seated faithfully by her side. The dog's ears perked, his body stiffening as if he sensed her distress. Their eyes met, and in that quiet moment, words weren't needed. The little girl lifted her small hand, making a subtle gesture, one only he had been trained to understand. It was a call for help. The change was immediate. The shepherd rose to his feet, muscles taut, a low growl rumbling from his chest. Gasps erupted from the gallery as whispers spread. No one understood what they were seeing, but it was enough to stop the courtroom cold. Something extraordinary had just been set in motion. The German shepherd's sudden movement jolted the entire courtroom. His bark cracked through the silence like thunder, deep and commanding. Reporters dropped their pens, the jury flinched, and even the judge froze mid-sentence. The dog's protective stance was unmistakable. He was no longer just a companion. He was on duty. He moved in front of the little girl, blocking her from view with his strong frame. His eyes locked on the defendant, ears forward, body rigid. The tension in the air grew unbearable as murmurs filled the gallery. "What's happening?" someone whispered. "Why is the dog reacting like that?" The defense attorney protested, slamming his hand on the desk. "This is a distraction," he barked. But the judge leaned forward, his sharp eyes narrowing. The shepherd wasn't acting out of confusion. His reaction was precise, purposeful. Something was wrong, and everyone in the room could feel it. The judge slammed his gavel down, the sharp crack echoing through the chamber. "Order in the court," he demanded, though even his voice carried a note of unease. All eyes shifted from the startled spectators to the little girl and her German shepherd, standing like a sentinel before her chair. The judge leaned forward, adjusting his glasses. "Young lady," he said gently, "why did your dog react this way? Did you give him a signal?" The girl's face paled, her small hands trembling as she clutched her dress. She hesitated, glancing at the dog, who remained rigid, unblinking. Finally, her voice cracked through the silence, fragile but clear. I gave him the sign. Because I felt unsafe." Gasps filled the room. The judge's expression hardened as he studied the defendant, who shifted nervously in his chair. The trial had taken a turn no one expected. The courtroom fell into stunned silence. The little girl's voice wavered, but her words carried the weight of truth. She raised her hand slowly, pointing toward the defendant. "My dog was trained to warn me when someone lies or when I'm in danger. I gave him the sign." The defendant shifted uncomfortably, sweat forming on his brow. Whispers rippled through the gallery, jurors leaning forward with wide eyes. The dog stood firm, gaze locked on the man, his low growl vibrating like thunder. Beneath the surface, the girl's trembling stopped, shielded by her protector's strength. The defense attorney tried to object, but his voice faltered under the tension. The judge's face darkened, gavel gripped tight in his hand. This wasn't just testimony anymore. This was revelation. The girl had spoken, the dog had confirmed, and the entire courtroom felt the tremor of truth ripple through its walls. The prosecutor rose quickly, sensing the momentum shift. "Your Honor, we have supporting evidence," he announced, lifting a folder from his desk. He laid out documents, phone records, and surveillance footage that aligned perfectly with the girl's statement. One by one, the pieces fell into place like puzzle fragments. The jury leaned forward, whispering among themselves as each exhibit was revealed. The defendant's face grew paler with every detail, his confident smirk vanishing. The German shepherd remained unmoving, his growl low and steady, as if affirming each fact brought into the light. The air thickened with revelation. Gasps echoed when a final piece of evidence confirmed the timeline beyond doubt. The judge's expression hardened, tapping his gavel once, not for silence, but for gravity. The truth was undeniable. The little girl's signal and the dog's reaction weren't chance. They had cracked the case wide open. The atmosphere inside the courtroom shifted like a storm breaking. Jurors exchanged glances, their earlier uncertainty now replaced with clarity. The little girl sat taller, no longer trembling, her hand resting on the German shepherd's back. His steady presence had given her courage, and her truth now rang louder than fear. The judge leaned forward, his eyes narrowing on the defendant, who squirmed under the weight of both evidence and silence. "You may remain seated," the judge ordered, his voice sharp. But the authority in his tone made clear the case had already changed course. The defendant's confidence was crumbling. Whispers spread through the gallery. Parents clutched their children, others dabbed tears from their eyes. What had started as a trial was now something more, a lesson in loyalty, courage, and the unexpected strength of a child and her dog. The verdict wasn't spoken yet, but the outcome felt inevitable. When the verdict was finally read, the courtroom erupted. The defendant's fate was sealed, justice declared. But all eyes turned not to the judge or the lawyers, but to the little girl and her loyal German shepherd. She wrapped her arms around his neck, tears streaming, whispering, "We did it.